If you haven't yet, just tell us where you are coming from, where you are dialing in from. See some folks from Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Colorado. I know I see a Connecticut person. All right, everybody. Hi, good evening. We're going to just give folks another extra minute or two to come on in. And if you are not on camera, come back on if you will. This is a really wonderful opportunity for us to see each other. If you're little, maybe you have your little, what do you call it? This little protective thing that goes over your camera. You can move that aside, slide it over. Beverly, I think you have yours over there. Beverly, I should just call her mom. Why am I calling her Beverly? I'm trying to be all like professional in the room. Come on now.
We
Mom,
can
I
pick
think
a
you have
name.
Mom, I
Pick
think
a
you have your
name.
little protection, that little protector over your camera.
Come
You
on,
might have said,
Beverly.
come
Here.
on, Beverly. I would love to see some folks if you're able to bring yourself on camera. And then in a minute we'll take the music down. I just like to give people about 5 to 6 minutes because different places in the world, it's different times. So all right. Hi everybody. Good to see some new faces here. Glad to see my mom here. Just if you will, just put yourself on mute for a moment, just so there's not a lot of background noise. We want to be able to support everybody in the room, if you will. And I'll tell you a little bit about me. Some of you already know me. Some of you have tried havening before. And some of you are like, what is this havening thing? Some of you have just had me on their podcast to talk about havening. Shout out to Message in the Middle, Miss Marianne up there. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And some of us are students of Hilary. That is not supposed to be a thumb down. That is supposed to be a true thumb up. Fireworks to Miss Sue Bird, who is a student of mine in havening trading. So lots of different people in the group here. So what I would love to do, and I know we're going to get some more people that are coming in, sometimes we have a couple stragglers, is just go around the room and tell us who you are, where you're coming from, and what's bringing you to the Havening Happy Hour that I have here. And then I'll share a little bit about myself for the newcomer. So Sue, since you are one of my students getting certified in havening to use it as her practice, tell us who you are, why you're here, what brings you to the Havening Happy Hour. And I love seeing your face. So thank you for being here.
Um, I don't
Just a
like
quick
being,
30 seconds.
yeah, I'm not really a limelight person, but anyway, um, I took a hypnotherapy class last year, and the mentor was into the havening, and he's the one who mentioned it and said you can go on and get certified in havening if you like. So that's why I looked into it, and I came across Hilary and chose her to be my teacher and mentor.
It is wonderful to have you here, and you're doing a beautiful job. And just to mention that that was Paul, right?
Yes.
Give a shout out to Paul McKenna. Many of you might be recognizing that name going around the internet because he's part of Mind Valley, which is a big program that has a lot of courses and curriculum. And Paul is probably one of our biggest fans in the havening world, even though he's known worldwide, really over across the pond, more so for his hypnotherapy work as a hypnotist. He's quite a well-known hypnotist. So we love that Paul loves to talk about havening. So
Yeah.
great to see you. Good to see you this weekend as well in our mentorship group. So thanks for being here, Sue.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going in random order. Sue just happened to be in the top left. Amy, yay, girl. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi. My name is Amy Fagan. I live in Southern Virginia, and this is really good timing. I actually happened to listen to a really intense The Daily episode on my walk tonight, and I was like, glad I'm coming here tonight.
Yeah. So that you listened to my episode with the 11 tips to self-love or self-care. Thank you for that. And let me just shout out that you have a phenomenal podcast yourself and all about sustainability. And I absolutely love what you're doing. We have a number of podcasters in this group today. So thank you for what you're sharing with the world because we learned so much from the conversations you have as well. So yay. And it's good to see your face. I love that podcasters sometimes don't like to be on camera, but you all do it so well. So thanks for being here. And you're in North Carolina. No, I'm sorry, you're in Virginia. Right, right, right. Cool. All right, Marianne, you are next on the list. Speaking of podcasters,
Hi
yay.
guys. Yes, I'm one
Thank
of
you.
them that hate to be on camera, but here I am. But yeah, so I am from Rhode Island, and yes, I have a podcast and just had Hilary on, and she was amazing. And I learned about havening from you before that as well, but in that session, that conversation, I learned a little bit more, and I just wanted to try it firsthand to see what it's really like. So that's why I'm here.
So happy to have you here. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you having me on Message in the Middle and just being here to share and honestly just put these tools in your own hand to use for yourself or anytime, anywhere. That's what the beauty is of the Havening Techniques approach.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Miss Kim Lynch, you are a newcomer to our group. Can you introduce yourself? What brings you to the Havening Happy Hour? Oh, you're on mute. I know so many buttons to press.
There we go. You
There
told
you.
me to mute myself and I muted myself.
Yeah.
I am part of Marianne's Message in the Middle, as Amy is. Like, there's a group of us that look forward to all her different podcasts she puts on. And I happened to listen to the Havening one yesterday. And I said to Marianne, I said, oh my goodness, I said, I have to do the happy hour, the next happy hour. And I thought she meant the 19th of March, but it was tonight. So it was perfect. So I messaged you and you replied and gave me the link. And it is so intriguing to me. So I'm here again as like Marianne is a fan. I want to learn. This is really interesting.
Oh, I'm so
So,
glad. Yes, we talked on Instagram. You reached out to me. Thank you
yes.
so much.
Yeah.
I always love when people reach out because sometimes, like, I hear things like, I felt like you wouldn't reach out or you're untouchable. I'm like, I'm not untouchable. I'm human like everybody else. I love having connections and conversations with people, right? So thank you for taking that step and reaching out and saying, hey, can I get the link? So much appreciated. So glad you're here. And I hope you
Thank you.
enjoy this. I really do.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah. Great. And where are you from? Where are you coming
East
from?
Coast Canada.
Oh, wow. Great. Good to have
Yeah.
you here.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. I saw Miss Alicia Gray pop up. So, hi, welcome. What brings you to the Havening Happy Hour?
Thank you. I'm from New Jersey, and I don't remember exactly where I heard from Havening. I think it was a YouTube video on health and wellness, and I recently became certified in tapping, EFT
Hmm.
tapping, and so I'm sure somehow through that I heard about Havening, and I've done a couple of Havening, one-on-one Havening sessions with a Havening practitioner, and just was really amazed by how helpful it was. So
Wonderful. Great. Love to hear that. A lot of times we will hear folks asking, what's the difference between tapping and havening? What's the difference between EMDR and havening? And a lot of it is because they're all psychosensory modalities, but havening tends to be much, I guess the difference would be as far as with havening and tapping or EFT is that it is an approach that's more nurturing. It tends to be more nurturing. So when you think of like a warm hug or like a mother being very nurturing with their child, but they're both beautiful modalities. We have a number of people who are EFT practitioners and Havening practitioners, and use both, independently or together. There's really that's why they're complementary alternative medicines, right? Because they complement each other. So anytime you can bring them into your own space is wonderful. And I hope you had a great experience with it. And I'm glad you're here. So thank you for joining us. And you are where?
New Jersey,
New Jersey. Oh, so am I. Where are you in
oh,
Jersey? What part of
some
Jersey?
Somerset.
Wonderful. I'm in Bergen County, not too far. Wonderful.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you joining us. Okay. Let us go over to Miss Lisa. Hi, Lisa. You're on mute. There you go.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good to see you again.
Thank you. You too. You too. Sorry, I got in late. I was on another Zoom for nutrition, so
It
had
is
to get
that is totally fine. So we had a chance to meet and I would love to thank you for showing up. I told you about the Havening Happy Hour. What brought you to this month's?
just to see what it's all about. To see what happens in the happy hour, see what it's all about, and learn something new.
Great. I love that. And you are where?
West Coast,
That's
California.
right. That's right. Well, I mean, the difference is like you and I had an opportunity to do a little one-on-one. The difference is having the group and community, I think could be very empowering, having other people that are sharing their experiences or just knowing that you're not alone in the battle. There's really power in community. So I think that's what sets this apart. And I remember us talking about it, like we don't go really deep into things. Obviously, we're in group and I want to be able to support people. It's really more for more self-regulation and self-care and just sometimes we just have a day, right? Like Amy mentioned, just had a day, it was good timing. So just having these moments together can just I get something out of it too. Like I'm havening while I'm havening with you. So anytime I can just be in the space with other people that I know put their health first is a benefit. So thank you for making a choice to be here. Yay. Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna go over. Oh, I think my mom has figured out how to use the camera. Mom, do you want to come in and say
Where
hello?
am I? I don't know where I am. I don't see my picture.
Is that existential or do you mean that personally?
I mean, it's
the,
possible. Am I
the,
here?
the little, you're here. You're here. The little camera. You know what? You can do it with the camera off, Mom. It's okay. I see that there's some kind of light that's coming through. So just introduce yourself,
I um
or we can come back to you if you like.
no, I'm Hilary's mother, and you can't see me, but I'm an exquisite looking woman. So we'll leave it at that. And I'm calling from Connecticut.
I don't know where I get my
You'll,
sense of humor.
you'll
I'm
just have
so
to take my
confused.
word for it.
Well, when you put you actually right. Oh goodness. Right. Well, when you put your camera off, your picture comes up and we all get to see just the stunner that you are. So okay, so let's go to Miss Raven. Raven, are you open to coming on camera? You don't have to if you don't want to, but love to see faces. You can
Hello.
use an avatar if you want. You can do whatever you want.
So sorry, I can't be on
No
camera
worries.
tonight, but I'm happy
That's
to be
fine.
here. Thank you, Hilary,
Great.
for having us. I'm calling from DC
Mhm.
and I'm joining the happy hour because I just learned about havening from a somatic meditation YouTube video that I found. Also, like Alicia, I have a long love for EFT, emotional freedom technique, and this seemed somewhat similar as far as the effects it can have for people and nervous system regulation. So I'm curious to learn more and coming as a total beginner, just truly
Amazing.
curious.
And who do you know who was doing the somatic video on YouTube?
I can go grab her name. I'll put it in the chat in a moment.
That would be great. Would love to know who that is. You can send
Sure.
that to me. That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Well, and when you're in DC, you said, yeah?
Yes, DC.
Amazing. Great. Thank you for joining us. All right. I see Amy. Amy, can you come on camera or are you not able to as well? Again, it's not a requirement. Just love to see people's faces, especially if they're doing havening for the first time so that I can just kind of look over if you're doing it, but it is a very simple approach. But you want to introduce yourself? And she might just be dialing in. If not, we can come back to her. But again, not a requirement, just giving people an opportunity to share who they are, where they're coming from. So then we will go to Chris West. Disclaimer, this is my boyfriend, everyone.
Hey, evening, everyone. Apologize, I'm a little dark here. I'm not sure why, but Uh, and thank you for the exquisite Beverly Russo for making me laugh hysterically, and I hope it doesn't come out the wrong way. But that made my eyes water. I was laughing so hard. And I need to join lovely Miss Hilary tonight because um, I am working for the federal government, and of late I have certainly felt some evening, nighttime anxiety, and want a little guided help on doing some hating this evening. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, honey. Appreciate it. It's good to have the support of those that care about us and we care about them as well. But in the line of work you do, thank you for all you do to keep us safe in this country. And I know that's a lot that's on you. And I imagine we all have a lot on our plates in different areas, no matter what it is. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to do a little havening tonight. It's your own experience. You don't have to follow what I'm doing per se. It really is whatever it chooses to be for you. I do choose a theme every month. That's basically what I like to do. Again, you don't even have to follow that theme if you don't want to. But this month, because we're in February, February is love month. I thought, the most important person to really love is yourself. And this is an area that we sometimes struggle with. We don't take compliments that easy. We sometimes are really hard on ourselves. When it comes to being grateful for who we are and how we're showing up in the world, sometimes we forget even the little things that we're bringing to the table. And last month I was diving into Love Month with us thinking about like those New Year's resolutions, starting a new year. And it's around this time that resolutions tend to take a dive. About 80% of people fall off their New Year's resolutions and those goals. And then we get really hard on ourselves. And that's why this whole month, even on Holistically Speaking, the podcast that I host, I've been focusing on different ways to love ourselves, whether it is the single episode that Amy spoke about, the 11 ways to hug it out with yourself. Hug It Out is my program, or it is, how to be in partnership, and a really good partnership. That was this last week's episode, and even this week, which we tackle going into the way of being able to keep those little goals that you have moving forward. So those are the kind of things that I've been wanting to work on, whether it's self-love, shared love, or even how to move forward and love yourself as you move forward into this new year. What can we do to empower ourselves and hug it out with ourselves, as I call it, which is actually an acronym for, in the healing that we're all doing in life, you have to have a little humor, right? Understanding of who you are and how you show up in the world, and gratitude for who you are and what you're bringing to the table. And that's kind of where havening comes into it. It is like a warm hug. So a little bit about me and my background. If you haven't heard before, if you have heard the story before, I apologize. I try to change it up a little bit every time I tell it. But I come from a world of being a journalist for 30 years. I saw a lot of stuff being on camera. I was holding space for people to share their stories. And a lot of times I was taking in a lot of very negative information because I was a health journalist. And so I covered a lot of different things from 9/11 all the way up to the opioid crisis and even the pandemic and beyond. And, when you hear those kind of stories, you take a lot in. I also had a dad that was sick my whole life. So, that secondary traumatic stress that we take in from other people's duress, other people's traumas can really impact us. And we sometimes think it's just overwhelm or burnout. And yes, those things can be present, but how do we self-regulate? How do we self-soothe? And that's where havening came into my life. As a holistic health coach, havening came into my life about 7 years ago around. And I dove right in because the first time I was ever havened was on the death and grief and loss of my father. And I was havened actually by one of the co-developers of havening, who is Dr. Ron Rudin. Dr. Ron and Dr. Steve are twins. They are both the developers of this approach. If you go through any of my workshops, like my 2-day that's coming up in March, you learn about the history. Paul McKenna is a part of that, so you know that from hearing about it as well. And there's a whole lineage to how this beautiful approach came about and how easy it is to use. So it's been around for about 25 years. And it's a very simple approach that I moved into. And now I'm not just a practitioner. There's about 1,000 of us in the world, soon to be 1,001, right? With Miss Sue. No pressure, Sue. And And then I'm also a havening trainer, and there's only about 50 of us who train in this entire world. So that I feel very privileged that the doctors chose me to be part of that collective of trainers of the havening technique. So what havening is it is a neuroscience-based approach that uses touch and positive thoughts, pleasant distractions to rewire the brain rapidly. And it is rapid. It could be used for everyday upsets to deep-rooted traumas. Obviously, for any trauma work, it's never in group, it's one-on-one, and it's never something I do in the last 15 minutes of a session. It is something that you would not do yourself, but really need to be supported by somebody like myself. And it can also be used for just the everyday upsets we have, or we just need to remind that part of our brain, this little amygdala that's actually a paired system on both sides of our brain and limbic system, that you're okay, you're safe. And that is where the word havening comes from. It comes from the word haven. We create safe places in our life. The house you live in, the car you drive, the neighborhood, the people around you, these are all your safe havens. But sometimes we forget about the most important piece of real estate we own, and probably the only piece of real estate we truly and always will own, and it's right here. And so when you have like 70,000 thoughts a day, mainly and mostly they are not good ones, because that's what keeps us alive and safe, your amygdala goes into fight or flight, freeze or fawn. We learned about that in science class. But what can you do to let your amygdala know it's safe and okay? Because when those fleeing thoughts happen, when you're not having a good day, when life is giving you some real challenges, or it could be as little as I'm not sleeping, or I'm not in, I'm having a bad conversation with someone, or I have to study and this test is scaring me, or whatever it is, those feelings that are not positive, your amygdala instantly gets a message, like being passed in homeroom class, that it's not safe. And it doesn't understand time or space. So even if it's something that you've not witnessed yourself or been through yourself, you're sending a message to your amygdala and it's processing it that it is actually in danger. So what havening does is it is like CPR for your amygdala. It's reminding your amygdala, you're okay, you're safe, the worst is over, and you have tools that will help you be okay, right? And it does that with the touch, which is like, let's all do it together. It's like you're washing your hands. I love the hearts. Or giving yourself a gentle hug from your shoulders down to your elbows with thumbs together, right? Or even on your face. If you prefer, you can do it on your face. And if you try it this way, it feels a little different. It feels like someone actually might be touching your face, right? So these three touches, washing your hands, gentle hug in the downward motion, or even on your face, actually produces delta waves, and a very high amount of delta waves, which is actually measured in hertz. So like when you're doing it on your face, it's producing 90 times the amount of hertz that if you weren't doing it at all. And that's why we use the face, the hands, and the arms, because we found that those were the most amount of hertz that were being produced. And delta wave is your sleep state. That's where you go when you're in deep sleep. The beauty is you're able to produce more delta waves when you do havening. And it actually has the ability to do that rapidly. And then from that, you're also, when you're doing the havening touch and pairing it with a positive thought or a pleasant distraction, you're also releasing oxytocin, which is the love hormone. You're releasing serotonin. You're releasing dopamine. And you're also releasing GABA. You pair it with like a positive thought or a pleasant distraction. And that could be anything, my friends. That could be like humming because you're activating the vagus nerve. It could be singing a song. It could also be counting to 20, or thinking about a place that you would love to go that's like a first class ticket anywhere you want to be. The beauty of this work is that you can be wherever you want to be at any time, anywhere. And that positive place, that positive experience is sending a signal to the amygdala that you're actually there. So it's not thinking about the upset that you might have had. And it's such a rapid response, And raise your hand if you've actually tried havening before. Let's see who in the group has tried it and has benefited from it. Perfect. Yeah, we have a lot of folks in here that have even tried it. And I think some of you have even tried it with me, which is really beautiful. So thank you for giving me that gift. So what I want to do in this moment, since we're talking about havening and how we can use it as a self-regulation, self-love, and self-care. I want you to think of something that is maybe causing you some upset in the day. Maybe it's been today, maybe it's been something that's been, over the course of time. We're not going anywhere too heavy. Like we're not going into trauma work, like I said, but on a scale of 0 to 10, because this is how we measure havening, find something maybe that would be around a 5, right? Because 0 is what I call namaste all day, means it doesn't bother you at all, right? 10 is off the chart. So maybe there's something that's falling at around a 5 for you that doesn't feel really great in your body. And then what I would want you to do, and the beauty of havening is that you also don't have to share what the upset is. It can be completely a content-free session when I'm working with my clients. You're really in your own experience. You're a detective in your own mind to solve the case of whatever's causing you upset, right? I'm just here to be a guide by your side and support you on that journey and mirror back at you what you might not see in yourself in the moment. So without sharing any content, what I would like for you to do is find something that you can share in the chat, maybe a word that's a feeling that you're having. So maybe you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Maybe you're tired and exhausted. What I want you to do is put that word in the chat and give it a number. So maybe you're there we go. So Chris started, he's feeling anxious and he's at a 7. So he's higher up on the scale. So go ahead and just share in the chat where you might be and just put it in there. And let's just, and this is just, there's no grading. This is just giving you an idea of where you are prior to havening and where you can be after you do some havening. And really putting it into your own space, knowing that you can build a resilient landscape in your brain by doing just a little self-regulation yourself. Okay, so I'm seeing some numbers. We're seeing regret at a 5, tired and overwhelmed at an 8. Just keep going, my friends. Like, this is a safe space. It doesn't go anywhere. Right? Low energy. Yeah, I understand that. Disappointed at a 4 or a 5. So we're seeing some 5s: disappointment, low energy, tired, overwhelmed, regret, anxiety. Keep putting them in there. And then we'll do a little havening. We'll see what we can do with some of those numbers. Because this really is just more about you building a really beautiful relationship with your amygdala. We call her Amy in the world of havening. So like, think about Amy as though she were like a little kid that needs to be held when she falls and skins her knee, whatever that might be for you, whoever Amy is, that part of your brain that needs a little attention to be reminded that she's okay and safe. Let Amy be that for you. Okay, feeling overwhelmed at 8. Good. And that's a good thing. That I love that my mom's bringing this up. Today was a good day, so her score is decent. Right. So even if you have a 0, even if your score is a 0 or a 1 and you're feeling enlightened or happy, that's great. There's nothing wrong with producing more delta waves, and then maybe you feel even better. And I do say that to my clients every once in a while when I'm working with them. When people come in, they'll say, I'm having a good day. Maybe we don't need to do havening. You're right. Maybe we don't, but we can do some havening, and then you're going to be releasing more of those delta waves. You're going to be having more oxytocin, serotonin. What's wrong with having a better day? And then it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Why not? Right? Like, why is there a limit? So these are all of these numbers, all of these feelings, all of these emotions are valid. Please know that. And I want you to feel. I want you to be able to be open and present with what you're feeling. The days of like not feeling or like trying to get rid of those emotions, that's a different kind of way that we used to deal with therapy. I didn't deal with therapy that way, but that was a different way that you might have been approached in a way. And being able to be in touch with your feelings and be present with them and say, okay, I feel this. Where am I feeling it in my body? Maybe you're feeling it in your chest or your tummy. Maybe it's in your shoulders because you're feeling the weight of the world. Like, be really mindful of wherever it is you're feeling this emotion in your body, and just like tell yourself it's okay. I hear you. I see you. I'm aware of you being there. And then what I want you to do is just park it over here for a sec, because we're going to do a little havening, and you're mindful that it's there and you feel it, but now you're going to take yourself somewhere else. And this is at a point where you bring creative visualization to mind. If you're good at visualizing, if you can close your eyes and imagine that first class ticket somewhere you want to go, or if I take you through the journey, you find a place like Maybe the beach is the place that you love to be. I'm just going to be walking through that with you, and you're going to have your own experience. No two people in this room are going to have the same experience. Maybe you're on the beach, maybe you're in the mountains, maybe you're in Paris, maybe you're in your own home, wherever it might be. Allow yourself to go to that place that brings you peace, calm, and joy, because now you're letting Amy, the amygdala, know that you're safe. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to play a little music. And if you have a problem or if you have a hard time visualizing, what I invite you to do is find different points in the room that you can focus on as I'm counting. So I'm going to be counting to 20. And if you aren't able to visualize and close your eyes and take yourself somewhere that brings you that peace and calm and joy, look around the room, find 20 things that you're surrounding yourself with in your own home or wherever you are that just are distracting you, because that's really what it is. So that's the other way you can do it as well, if visualization is not something that's comfortable for you. So let me put on a little more music. You should be able to hear this. You hear that? Perfect. So what I invite you to do in this moment is just close your eyes at this point. You're in a safe space. Give yourself permission to go there. You remember the havening touch is like you're washing your hands, shoulders to elbows, or even on your face. And you're going to continue this havening movement, the havening technique, the entire time I'm talking. Okay? And so what I invite you to do in this moment is just take some deep breaths. Give yourself permission. You decided to be here today. Allow yourself the opportunity to be kind to your mind, to hug it out with yourself. And then what I invite you to do in this moment is, while you're shutting your eyes, is to think of a place or an experience that brings you absolute peace and calm and joy. Maybe it is the beach. Maybe it's a big meadow field. Maybe it is somewhere in the mountains or in your backyard, wherever that place is for you. Maybe it's a little book nook at a library. Allow yourself to see that place as if it's on the other side of a door or a threshold, or on the other side of a fence, like it's a neural garden, and it's there for your taking in just a moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 3. And when I get to 1, I want you to imagine stepping across that threshold into that space that brings you that peace and calm and joy. We're just going to go there in 3 and 2 and 1. And allow yourself to be present. Look around wherever it is in your mind's eye with your eyes still closed, and see whatever it is that brings you that peace and calm and joy. Know that it's there for the taking. And then I'm going to count to 20. And with each number, I invite you to find one thing within that experience that brings you even more peace. And it could be different this time than it is the next time. Maybe this time, if you're on the beach, the first thing you see are the waves. The second thing that you might witness are the sound of laughing children. Whatever it might be for you, just step into that number 1, whatever number 1 is for you. Really embrace it as if you're there. Take your amygdala on the journey with you, like you have 2 first-class tickets. Befriend that part of your mind. And then move on to number 2. Already feeling lighter, calmer, more connected, because you're giving yourself permission to self-care. And move ahead to 3. Already feeling lighter, calmer. And 4. Remember to continue the havening touch. And then on 5, take a deep breath and bring a sense to mind. Maybe you smell something wherever you are. That's just so relaxing, so calming, so just positive and peaceful. And then move on to 6 and 7 and 8. Beautiful. And 9. Now you're just gliding along. And on that 10th step, imagine that you bring another sense to mind. Perhaps it is taste or smell or touch. Maybe you feel something or hear something. It's a feast of the senses wherever you are. And then move on to 11 and 12 and 13. Just gets easier and easier. And 14 and 15, taking a deep breath. And bring something else to mind. 16 and 17. Just glide along. 18 and 19. Knowing you have the ability to change your thoughts, moods, behaviors, and habits rapidly. And 20. And on this 20th number, I invite you, with your eyes still shut, to turn around in your mind's eye and just see how far you've come, how easy it is to be kind to your mind, how easy it is to befriend that part of your brain that just needs a little extra TLC every once in a while. And then in this moment, I invite you to take a deep breath. And, we're in the month of February now, moving along. And I invite you in this moment, as you are havening, to just do the months of the year. Just say the months of the year out loud. You're all on mute, so you're able to be in your own space. Just imagine what a difference a year makes. How easy it is. And if you're just joining us, havening is as if you're washing your hands, giving yourself a gentle hug from your shoulders down to your elbows, or even gently touching your face. Yawning is good. I see a lot of yawns. Just go around and do the entire year from February to February. And then what I invite you to do is say the alphabet out loud. It could be in your native language if it's something else, whatever's comfortable to you. Just say the alphabet. Take your time, maybe even seeing you spelling it in the clouds. Maybe it's a beautiful color. Beautiful. When you're done with the alphabet, just take a couple deep breaths. Fill your lungs with air. Imagine that every cell in your body is tickled by good, healthy breaths. If there's a part of you that's feeling like it needs extra attention and maybe your health is needing a little extra attention, allow that deep breath to just be like a warm blanket around that part of your body that needs a little extra attention. You're feeling tension in your shoulders or around your heart, your hips or your back. Just allow yourself to be comforted and cradled and hugged by all these beautiful hormones that are being released in your body, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine, all those beautiful delta waves that are being produced. You'll probably sleep well too. And take a deep breath and release. And then just take 2 more deep breaths as you go back to that space where you were looking back on all those steps that you took. How easy it is to be kind to your mind. Beautiful. And then I invite you to rest your hands in your lap. Bring your awareness back to the space. And then before you really have much time to really think about it, write in the chat now what word is you're feeling. What is the feeling you have right now? And the number that you would associate with it. So remember, if you are feeling more peaceful, your number is going to be lower, right? So the lower the number, the more you are in alignment with whatever that feeling is. Beautiful. I see peaceful at a 1. What else we got? It doesn't take long to produce all those beautiful chemicals and hormones in the brain. Rested, calm, relaxed. Beautiful, everyone. Peace, love, joy. Unsure. That's okay too. That's okay. Sometimes trying something for the first time, and sometimes we wrestle, honestly, with the ease of this. You know, um, is it okay that I feel so good? You know, that's not an unnatural feeling, but the uncertainty is okay to feel. Absolutely. Whatever you're feeling is okay, actually. But the beauty is that even being able to come down one number is a step in the right direction, right? Even if you came from a 5 to a 4, that's still progress in being able to be kind to your mind. Contentment, beautiful. So again, these numbers don't mean anything, like you're not being graded. There's no wrong number. In fact, every number is right. This is you being able to just be present for yourself, be aware of what you're feeling in your body and your mind, and know that even with the simplicity of something like havening that's neuroscience based, that you have the ability to change your thoughts, moods, behaviors, and habits rapidly and many times permanently, depending on what it is that you're being um, presented with in your life. You know, this is really about you being a detective of your own mind. When I work with people, it's not, I'm not, I'm not healing you. I'm not changing you. I'm just a guide on the journey with you, and you're doing all this work yourself, you know? So that is havening, my friends. And I love to see that these numbers have come down and we're seeing a lot of different emotions and better emotions and you could even continue this tonight when you're sleeping. You know, it's something I do every night because I actually have sleep apnea and I'll do it just to calm myself and to remind myself that I can sleep and I'm rested, produce more of those delta waves, right? But that is havening, and I want to just open the floor at this point. Does anyone want to share their experience or have any questions? I want to give you that time to share. Would anyone like to say anything or share what they felt if it was the first time even? We don't have to share. It's just an option for people to share what the experience might have been like for them this time, even if it's something different. Marianne, did
Yeah,
you want to share? Please
yeah,
do.
I was going to say that it made me very, very peaceful. I will say, though, and this is something that I've struggled with meditation, there were only a couple times that I found myself sort of trying to stray back into like the real world. And I just pulled myself back, right? That's part of like getting more familiar with doing it. So I just kind of wanted to say that out loud because I would bet that's probably normal at first. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely normal. Love that you shared. Thank you for being vulnerable. Our brain is designed to go to the negative, right? It is not you, it is your brain. It is my brain. It is everyone in this room's brain. That's if your brain wasn't doing that, then you'd be walking out in traffic saying, "Oh, I'm
Right.
safe. I can do whatever I want." Right? The whole idea is that reptilian part of your brain is the oldest part, is designed to keep you alive and safe. So your
Yeah.
amygdala is doing exactly what it's designed to do. So when those thoughts happen that bring you back into that not so positive place, a really good thing to do is just stop and witness it and be like, hold on a second. Is that happening? Is what I'm telling myself true? And there's a really beautiful thing that the think method. Is it true? Is it helpful what you're saying to yourself? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Think, right? So when you go to that intrusive thought, to stopping yourself and saying, you know what, I've got you. I'm good. All's well. All's well. I'm good. I'm safe. And I hear you and I see you. But I'm going to head back over here to whatever this other thing was that I had going on because that was pretty awesome. Right. It's as easy as that. And what you're doing is you're creating these new neural pathways because it is neuroscience, it's neuroplasticity. We only discovered 25, 30 years ago, not even, that the brain has the ability to change. So it's no different than being on a road or a path that you think is there, but you're not so sure when you're hiking. But then the more you're on that path, it really opens the pathway and you're like suddenly everyone's taking that hiking trail. I think we even talked about that a little bit, right? When we were talking on your podcast, but it's like that whole idea of like you're creating these neural pathways that after a while it gets a little easier and easier, right? So that was a great share. Thank you. And you're doing the work and recognizing it is the first thing. So, Chris, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So, in an effort to put a little bit more light on my face, I turned on my TV and put it on a naturescape. And there's a reason I'm sharing this because the naturescape pulled up something I've been looking at and envisioning this whole time. And it's some random beach I'd never heard of in the Dominican Republic. And I'm going to type this in because I swear you need to like Google this or someone does because it's absolutely gorgeous. And I envisioned myself in this place I've never been, and imagine the sun on my face, the sand in my toes, the smells of the sea, the sounds of sea. I mean, all of it. And it was just this random image that popped up on the TV screen, and I'm so thankful because I was able to envision not even a place that not only have I never been, but I want to go at some point and see this. And apparently, this place exists. So, Bayhibe. There we go.
Vacation.
Exactly. Um,
That sounds
so
amazing. I'm glad you had that
yeah,
experience.
so it's just
Yeah.
really neat that I was able to actually have this image in the background and totally added it to this whole experience.
Love it. And that's such a good example too, because like I mentioned earlier, that if you can't visualize it, maybe sometimes we're like, all right, I'm closing my eyes and all I'm seeing is black. Like I can't bring anything to mind. What a great opportunity to be able to turn on something like that or put an image on your phone. Or I mean, this is no different than like vision boards, really, right? If you create a visual and put it in front of you, no different than if you were to look outside in your garden and you had a beautiful garden, you're bringing the visual elsewhere. And it doesn't have to be something real, by the way, like letting everyone know in this room. I work with a lot of children that have a lot of have an active imagination. And they'll start, sometimes they'll be doing their gaming in their head. They have a game that they love, or they'll, the fairy tales of the Hobbit or any of the stories that the books that they love. I'll invite them to look into something like that, and then they're on their own journey. I have no idea where they are unless they want to share it, which you're open to. But the beauty is it doesn't have to be real. It could be fictitious. It could be something you see and you're just mesmerized by it and you're pulled into it. Your amygdala doesn't know if it's happening or it never happened before, or if it'll ever happen, because it's the part of your brain that does not know time or space. So this is why havening works, because it's building a relationship with your amygdala that has no idea what time and space is. So how easy it is for you to go to the negative, like Marianne, what you mentioned, right? It's just as easy to go to the positive. It's just about conditioning your brain to go to that place and rewiring and firing in that direction so that you're on the beach of Costa Rica or Dominican Republic rather than whatever's causing you upset and strife. Does that make sense? So, and that's what builds the resilient landscape in your brain. Right? So, yay. I want to hear more about that place in the DR. Fast forward to me Googling, where are we going on vacation? So, love that. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share?
Yes, I'll buy you both your first pina coladas
Okay.
when you get
Amazing.
there.
Sweet. Thanks. Mom, how was your experience? I know that you were off camera and had a little struggle there. And and I'm using you as an example because you said that you had a pretty good day. So how is it to Haven? And you've done Havening a lot. We've worked together a lot, and also you've done it many times in the Havening happy hours as well. How have you found it effective for when you're even having a good day?
Well, I have to admit something. I did not do havening. I sat here watching everybody. I wanted to see what watching people doing havening would do for me. And it was very calming.
That's great.
I really enjoyed it. I watched
Yeah.
everybody's faces and motions, and you all look so sweet.
Oh, that's sweet.
Uh,
So
like
in a
little
way,
kids.
So
your guard is down and you were just being whoever you are, and it was really sweet.
that's really nice. That's a really beautiful thought just to share. And while you weren't havening, you were still being impacted by it in some way because you're watching other
Exactly.
people doing it, right?
Exactly.
So really lovely. I wonder what that would have been if you had been havening and watching, because you would have been distracted, which is the distraction portion, and doing a little havening because the technique of the tactile of the touching the hands and just all the little um, you know, the nerves that we have going on. I wonder if it would have even
Well,
created even more.
I tried that once before, and I was aggravated trying to
Right.
do.
So
I
that's
found it
fine.
irritating.
Yeah. And
I
that can
wanted
happen
to just,
too.
yeah, I just wanted to do the havening, either one or the other.
Mhm. Yeah. And that brings up another good point too. Sometimes people might have an adverse reaction or don't want to constantly touch, right? This is facilitate what I'm doing with all of you today is called facilitated self-havening, meaning that I'm facilitating this experience while you're all havening yourselves. You can go later and while you're getting ready for bed and just do self-havening, which is you actually doing it on yourself without any facilitation. Then there's also facilitated havening, which means I would be doing it on you. And some of you have actually been able to do it with me firsthand in my presence and me in your presence, where I actually am facilitating the touch on you while doing the session. Those are the three different kinds of havening. So there are so many ways to do this, but then there are some times that you might feel like, you know what, I don't want to touch anymore. Touch sometimes, why do I keep having to do this? And to that, or maybe it's that you or somebody else could feel like, constant touch on the skin might be aggravating. You can actually do it on a pillow. You can do it on your favorite blanket. That's sometimes that's very nurturing and feels safe. So I have a couple of kids I work with that I'll have them do it to their plushie doll first, just to get them into the comfort of doing it to themselves or feeling comfortable with consent, obviously, to be able to do it on them. So it gives you options. But if you're ever feeling an emotion that doesn't feel so positive, that's okay. Back off from it for a second. Just feel your feels. We haven't found that there's adverse reaction, like a negative to the outcome of having. And I see that there was a question that was asked by Raven and Sue. Yes, I see you have to go. That's fine. I'll see you this weekend in our mentorship meetup. Good to see you. Um, Raven, you asked how long the results last for people. That's a really good question. It's really individual. It's an individual thing. So this is creating new neural pathways in your brain. So there are many times that this is a rapid and a permanent thing. So this specific thing that you might have been facing, you are, to get a little scientific in this moment, we call it depotentiating, which means that you're weakening those signals between the upset and what's being received by the amygdala. So it gets weaker and weaker the more that you're doing it. Sometimes it's one session and it never comes up for you again. Sometimes you just keep doing it and you create a much stronger landscape while you're weakening that upset, that signal between that part of your brain that's receiving it, which is Amy, the amygdala, and that those signals that are being wired and fired, if that makes sense.
Can I
So,
can I add something?
of
I'd love
course,
to, not as a teacher because I'm not in that position, but as somebody who has done havening. I was having reoccurring nightmares, one particular nightmare for many, many years. And I did havening, and I don't have these nightmares anymore. They're
that's
gone.
great,
It
wonderful.
does, they don't even come to me.
Yeah,
And so there's my experience. I did it once because of that. That doesn't mean I don't have other issues. I
great.
mean, I can give you a whole list. One by one, we're going to get rid
Right.
of it.
And that's what you're doing is you're showing up for yourself, right? So, and I didn't add this. Some people have heard this story, but my first experience with havening was during the 2-day workshop that I now teach, that was being presented with Dr. Ron and Steve Rudin, who are the co-developers, on the death of my dad. That was a grief and a loss that I dealt with for a long time. So that experience being on stage and having Dr. Rudin haven me, there are 7 different kinds of fundamentals of havening. It's not just one approach. It's not just there are different ways to support you with havening techniques. And that's something I teach in the 2-day workshop. You learn the history, the neuroscience, the fundamentals, and then if you're interested in doing the certification, you go on to the second step. But that was one thing that that day when I was havened by Dr. Rudin, mind blown. And it was why I chose to move into the world of havening, because it impacted me in such a way where I found it to be so helpful. So every person's different, and it totally, everyone's going to have a different experience, but you are creating those pathways. It's almost impossible not to. So great. Thank you for sharing. Chris, you shared havening has definitely helped you, especially being havened by someone. Yeah. Yeah. Some people like being actually physically touched, while some prefer to do this to themselves. Some people like to do a combination of both. I have clients I see in person because that's where they they want to be havened. And then I have clients that I have in my office that I'm doing it with them sitting across from me, and they're doing it to themselves. Or like this, you have the ability to do it virtually. It's just as effective. And the efficacy of the telehealth and online is just as powerful. So great. I'm reading all of your questions. Oh, Amy had to go because she had a podcast interview. No worries. Does it matter if you use the back of your hands to touch your face? Do you? You can absolutely do this. And remember, I mentioned even doing it this way. Whatever is most comfortable to you, that if you find to be the most soothing approach, do it. If this brings you that state of peace and self-soothing, absolutely. You're doing it with your hands, which is really the most important part of it. I've worked with people who have been amputees that maybe they don't have an appendage and they're doing it on the leg instead because they don't have the arm. It's you do what works best for you. Absolutely. So it doesn't matter how much of the area you touch. As far as evenly through all 3, can you just do your favorite? Yes, indeed, you can, Raven. You don't have to do all 3 touches. And I said that a little bit in the beginning. I said, do whatever feels comfortable to you. It's not choreography. I want you to just feel as though it becomes like a sixth sense after a while. There's times, and the more you do this, and I'm sure those in the room who do this often know, you wind up doing it. You don't even realize you're doing it. I am doing this all the time. Half the time I forget I'm doing it because I know that I'm self-soothing myself subconsciously, right? So the beauty of this work is that you can do it even if you're sitting at your desk and you're about to have a big phone call, or maybe you're at a meeting, you're about to speak. You can do this right at your desk. Nobody knows what you're doing. I had a really amazing experience at this podcasting conference I was down at, that Marianne was there, Amy was there, where I sat with there was a whole military section that was there. And I befriended one of the gentlemen that was running the military track at this conference. And I showed him how to do it. And we were in the middle of the atrium. He's sitting there, and this is like a big guy, tough guy. He's just sitting there with his head down. I'm walking him through it like I did it with you. And whatever his experience was, wherever he was in his mind, he was fully invested. And his numbers went down. The feeling he had went from a more activated feeling to a more calming feeling. It really is just what it needs to be for you, And I love that this approach can be used for anyone at any age, any job you have, any upset that's coming up for you. There's really nothing off the table. So that's the real beauty of the work. Yes, panic attacks, Lisa, absolutely. I actually used to have them myself. And there are times when I get a little activated and I feel it coming up. It's the awareness, it's knowing it's happening, and you downregulate yourself. But I absolutely have used it with clients with panic attacks. and have shared it with people who have bouts of panic attacks. And we actually have, I think there's an entire thread in the Havening community on Facebook that talks about this as well. I actually did a video on this too, because there was a TV show that came on a while back, like a kid's show where the young girl was having a panic attack, and she went through all they didn't know it was Havening, but they went through the whole approach, and she completely downregulated during this episode. So yes, it can be used for that as well. For sucking thumbs, does this technique with touching extend to those soothing children with sucking thumbs? You mean, can you stop a bad habit? Yes, you can. And I don't even want to call it a bad habit. I don't want to say it's a bad habit.
That's not what I meant.
Oh,
what I meant was, does it have a soothing effect, just like sucking a thumb?
yeah. Yeah, a child is self-regulating. It's a nurturing approach that is causing that child to do an action or a habit that feels safe. The difference is that this approach is releasing more of the hormones, the oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, right? It's also rewiring the brain. So the touch aspect of it paired with the pleasant distraction is actually where you are downregulating and depotentiating that amygdala from being activated, and putting that part of your brain into a safe place, a haven, right? So good question though. So many questions tonight. I love this. You're always welcome to come on and say it if you want to, instead of just putting it in the chat, but I'll read them. Can you use havening for decision making? Yes, you can. Oh boy, absolutely. Indecisiveness. I have a lot of folks that talk about, in this day and age, we're seeing a lot in my generation, finding out that they have ADHD, how to support the attention deficit that they have, making a decision, maybe being a people pleaser, always wanting to do something that you're pleasing someone else. So when you're sitting there in that moment where a decision needs to be made, this allows you to calm yourself in the chaos, so you're not making an impulsive decision. And in that indecisiveness, you're also sending a signal to your amygdala that it's not safe, right? How do you feel in that feeling of indecisiveness? The heart starts racing. Maybe the hands get clammy. That you start breathing shallow. Those are all those feelings that your cognitive, autonomic, somatic, emotional feelings start coming up in your body. You're feeling it everywhere. And it's hard to make a decision when that happens, because then you're sending that signal to that part of your brain that's saying it's not safe. So being able to downregulate, you know what, I make good decisions. I'm perfectly capable to make a powerful decision. Maybe even seeing the outcome once you bring yourself down a little bit. Now imagine the outcome that it could be, like how the decision that would bring you the best feeling in your body, right? But the whole idea is to get you to a position where you're bringing that down a little bit first, and then be in that silence. Ask yourself those questions. So yes, and by the way, I use it a lot myself, because I can tend to be a little indecisive sometimes. And I'm sure there's people in the room that'll agree with that.
Thanks
Yes,
so much. Oh, sorry, I was going to respond.
Yes, go ahead, Raven. Yes.
That's super helpful. And at the end, when you were using self-talk, is that something you can also couple with havening, like some form of affirmation or?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, there is one of the 7 fundamentals of havening, because there's 7 types of havening, one of which that you can use at anywhere, anytime, is what we call affirmational havening.
Okay.
Affirmational havening is one of the techniques you can use to self-haven. It's one of the self-havening protocols. In fact, I encourage it, because when you think about it, Raven, I am is the most powerful sentence there is. It's what follows the I am that matters. Because you can go in this direction or you can go in that direction, right? You can say, I am frustrated and I don't get anything done. Or you can say, I am being challenged, and that challenging feeling is giving me more resiliency to create better habits, right? You can say, I am constantly making bad food choices, or you can say, I am choosing healthier options to nourish my body, right? 2 different sentences that have the same thing around it, right? The same ick. So it's how you're presenting the question. I hear this with the kids all the time. I'm so stupid. Okay. Or I'm learning something new, right? I'm open to the possibility of something new, right? So it is positive self-talk. I've actually shared a lot about that in a couple TV interviews I've done about what the positive, like how positive self-talk can rapidly rewire your brain when you're bringing in havening, because now you're doing affirmational haven.
Mm-hmm. Does it work
Making a
with the,
list.
oh, I'm sorry, does it work with the reverse too? Like, I'm using EFT as like a proxy
Mhm.
because that's the only modality I
Yeah.
understand. But often with that practice, you will say something like, even though I feel stupid in your example, or even though I feel like I can't accomplish this thing, I deeply and appreciate love and accept myself. So like you can name the negative, or in havening, is it just start at the positive?
So I think you need to do whatever resonates and what aligns with you, right?
Okay.
Because I have some people that are just like, I'm not buying into this I am thing, right?
Mhm.
And where we also have another kind of havening called informational, and it's asking yourself the question. So if I am isn't working for you, don't do I ams.
Mhm.
Maybe it's asking yourself the question of, say I was like, now maybe try those saying that if you said you were feeling more peaceful, and I've had this happen, by the way, and maybe somebody I'm working with says I am peaceful, and I see their scowl right here and the little bridge here, and I'm like, they're not resonating with, they don't feel peaceful, they're not in the I am peaceful. I'll say, why don't you ask yourself this question: what if I feel peaceful?
Mhm.
what if what if? And then I choose to feel peaceful. What does
Oh.
it feel like to choose, to have choice? Choice is powerful, right? And then
Mhm.
somewhere in that, they might align to the I am, because they're asking themselves a question. The subconscious goes to work to try to find the answer. Then you're putting them in a state of the I choose, asking them, when you're ready, I invite you to try I choose, whatever the rest of that sentence is, and then the I am. But if it works for you to bring up the negative and it's not bringing up a negative feeling for you and you're finding it empowering, have at it. Say whatever feels good for you. It doesn't have to be I am. It could be a long-winded approach to get there. Kind of like if you were saying, I am at peace, but maybe you weren't. You could say, I'm working on being in a less negative space to find a peaceful place in my life. And if you resonate with that, use that. You know, I would never be the one to tell you to do something and go with it if it doesn't flow with you. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you for walking me through that.
Absolutely. Love that. And I love that you're doing the tapping too. There's so much synergy with both, you know? And there are a number of people, I imagine, even in this room that have used both or do use both. So great. Do we have any more questions? So many good questions, y'all. You're amazing. This was such a good one today. And I don't know if anyone is interested, but I'm going to be doing another one March. I already set it up. It's going to be March 24th, which is a Monday. And it's following the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd, where I actually do have my havening training. That is something I am actually already set up. I'm going to bring something up real quick to show you if that's okay. I'm actually going to put it in the chat. That might be easier. My next training is March 22nd and 23rd. It is a weekend, and it's 9 to 6 both days Eastern time. And if you're interested in learning more about havening, as far as considering it as something you want to bring into your practice, whether it is something that is, if this is the work you do, uh, it might be another modality you want to bring into your practice, or it could be that you want to go on and for certification, much like what Sue is doing. It's a two-step process. The first step is a 2-day workshop. You learn, like I said, the history, you learn the neuroscience, and you learn all the fundamentals of havening, the 7 different havening fundamentals. And then if you were to go on to the second part, that's where you do some case studies. You have a number of case studies you do. You also will be doing, there's a science and ethics review. You do monthly mentorship with me and the other students that I have, and that's optional. You don't have to go to those, but I just offer that. That's part of my mentorship program. And then you're able to use, once you're certified, you're able to use havening in your workplace, in your profession, or if you're just interested in learning more about it, the 2 day is a really beautiful possibility. I am offering, through the end of this month, I'm offering $200 off too for the entire program if somebody goes through with that. Does havening require an official certificate? Yes, it does. So in order to practice it in the professional setting, that means that you would be using it in your workplace or advertising it at all, or saying you're a certified havening practitioner. You do have to go through the certification process. And that's what the first step of that is the 2 day workshop that I'm doing in March. And once you finish that, that's a certificate of completion where you learn the fundamentals, the neuroscience, the history, and then you practice it. You're practicing it with others in the group, like we did today, but you're actually practicing from client practitioner. You learn both sides. And after that's done, you move on and you do step 2, which is the case studies. There's 32 case studies. You can use the same person 3 times, so it's not that you need 32 people. If you already have a practice and you're a coach or a doctor or a practitioner, you can actually use it with the ones you already serve and ask them, hey, I'd like to try this new approach. You can't call yourself a havening practitioner, but once you finish your case studies and you do the reviews, and if it goes past, I submit it to the havening organization and you get certified. At that point, you become a certified practitioner. And I have up to a year to complete the entire process, which sometimes I think takes about 5 to 6 months on average for people. It's really at your own pace. And if you're open to, if you want to talk about it more with me, Raven, you can certainly set up a time. That link that I shared allows you to see if it's something that's right for you. Is recreational okay? Yes, absolutely. You can do this anywhere, anytime on your own. You can come back every month and do a havening happy hour. You are free to use this on yourself or friends and family, even. It just can't be used in a professional setting, or you can't call yourself a havening practitioner. But if you have friends that you want to share it with, or just a family member, or that's a really beautiful way just to share something that's it would be no different than you going online, seeing something that's on YouTube and starting using it yourself and just sharing it in your own space, as long as it's just for personal. Yep. Cool. Any other questions? Is that it? It's a good session. Is anyone interested or looking to actually add this to their practice? That might be something that's personal, and that's fine. I would say just use that link if you want to look into it, and you can always just set up a time to talk to me and we'll do a Zoom one-on-one to learn more. I offer that first. Is that it? Yeah? Okay. We went a little long tonight, which is always fine. I love answering questions and I love the shares. So thank you. And thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. Best Zoom yet. Even though we didn't get to see you, I get to see your beautiful face. And thank you so much, everyone. Please come back. The next one, like I said, I'll be adding it to my website. There's also a recording of this. And for anyone that signed up, the recording will be available so that you have it. You can refer back to it anytime that you can't make it. I always record them so that you have it to look back on if you have questions. And of course, please, it's like, get in touch with me. Really easy to be able to get in touch with me. I'm on social media. I've got the Holistically Speaking podcast. I would love to be able to connect with you. You're all now on my Brain Candy newsletter, so you get news of what's coming up and what's going on. And just stay in touch with me, okay? And be kind to your minds. Thank you so much, everyone.